Hey, I'm here now.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, there's I don't know what's going on. There's been some definitely some difficulties with Blog Talk Radio recently.
Boy, that's a little frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know if Chris. I mean, I know Chris has had problems in the past. I've had a few problems with my show. By the way, everybody, this is Andrew Pomprion from the Resistance Journals Radio, calling in to just to give these guys a hand here because the man behind the scenes, Chris Perkins, the host of the show, he's doing the soundboard right now, and Blog Talk Radio decided that they weren't going to let him do anything. So Mark's over here trying to get the show going. So I figured I'd help out.
Well, I really appreciate it. He says that he gave me fair warning, and he may have, but I totally forgot. So 10 minutes before the show, he says, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to listen. You know, I always listen." He's like, "No, you're co-hosting with me tonight, bud." And I'm just like, "You're killing me. You got to be kidding." And he's like, "Nope, not at all." And he's like, "I'll screenshot it after the show." He's like, "I told you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, no problem." And then here we are 45 minutes later. I'm trying to get him on, trying to bounce off dead air. It's like, oh boy, here we go. So,
well,
appreciate you getting on with me. So it's not just.
Yeah, we'll move right along. Chris, I know, can hear us, so he's gonna hopefully communicate with me, so I can. I don't know exactly how he had the show planned, so we're gonna do the best we can remotely. I don't know what time he had planned for Tim to come on, but I'm sure he'll let me know. So why don't we talk about the March Against the Mainstream Media in the meantime?
Let's do that. That was. How do you feel about what we participated in personally? I saw some pictures throughout the internet, and I mean, it was the first round of it. It wasn't like a March Against Monsanto or something that's been around for a few years, and I wasn't real happy about turnout, but I was definitely happy about the product after, what we accomplished, who we got through to, what we did. I mean, we definitely got the word out there, but we're not happy with the mainstream media. We're not happy with the garbage that they're putting out, that they're force-feeding everybody to watch and listen to. I definitely think we got that point across, and, we, even with the few numbers that we had, where we were, I think it's if I'm going to go out and march for something, it's definitely a very good cause, something that might actually change something in the long run, getting people away from their TV sets and away from the brainwashing of every day, the stuff that the mainstream media is just, again, force feeding them. So, but how do you feel about what we saw?
I agree. I think there was a good turnout. I mean, like you said, it's a fairly new kind of march. I'm not aware of too many marches against the mainstream media in the past. So,
no,
and individually and stuff, but it was a nationwide, and in fact, it was in a few other countries. It got picked up by Ben Swan, Abby Martin, RT. Alex Jones, various different alternative news sources picked it up, and even some local Fox stations and that were being protested actually reported on it. So
Oh, really? I never did hear any local no local news stations picking up on it at all. I know the Fox station where we were at, they didn't seem all that excited to come out and talk to us, so that's good that some local stations did get into it, though, and get the word out there that there was people there with the message that they were looking to spread. So that's good news. I'm glad to hear that, because I was, as you know, I tried to do some email bombs and some phone call bombs to some local stations, and just let them know that we were coming before we were coming, to get the word out there. So that's that is good that they picked it up and covered it a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think I think people that were around the area that we were in were pretty receptive to it, because it's not like we were yelling about some crazy nonsense. Everybody out in the street can understand, and they realize that the media doesn't tell them the truth, whether they think it's all the time or half the time or 10% of the time. They know that the media doesn't give them the whole story. So
You are 100% right about that. Most people were very receptive, old, young, in between it. You know, everybody was. I had a lot of older folks. You know, I'm going to call them older in their 60s plus, stop and say, you know, you're right. For everything that people see out and, you know, that people protest against, you know, they're like, you know, you're right. You're right about that. You know, and it didn't matter where they were coming from, you know, what parts of life they were coming from. They're like, you're right, they lie. I mean, I had one gentleman stop, and he was, you know, a little older than me, so say he was in his 40s or so. And jokingly, he was very sarcastic. He says, really? They lie? And, you know, and I picked right up on it. I was like, yeah. I said, you didn't know? You know, you didn't know that they lie, they brainwash you? And we chuckled about it. It was like, you know, something that it's so known that it's like we don't even need to be standing there or shouldn't be needing to stand there. But people don't think for themselves and go to other news sources anywhere else to, you know, they just cram what Fox puts down them and, you know, soaks it up, or what CNN or any of them. And then let's go to the alternative stations too. You need to pick things apart and, you know, dissect it for yourself. Do a little research. You know, pick up some books. So do a little history research too, along with some of this stuff. Isn't harmful.
Well, I think people would be surprised if they just followed the money. You know, if they looked at the news stations they listen to and they followed the money, they would have a pretty good understanding of what they're dealing with. But again, people don't think of things. They generally don't think of things in that manner. They don't think to, you know, that they don't. The average person doesn't think that there's a whole lot of conspiracies, and they tend to think that that's you know, something you'd see on a TV show, or, you know, because that's what they're kind of been programmed to believe, that this is only stuff that you see on television. And then when they go, you know, when they see something they don't like on television through a show or a movie, and they're not comfortable with it, they persuade themselves, you know, to ease themselves back into reality that it only takes place in a movie. You know, a good example would be like a ghost movie or Paranormal Activity. You know, whether that's real or not, you know, after the average person is done watching that movie, when they walk away from the TV set, they tell themselves, well, that's just a movie, it can't be real, it can't happen in my life. You know, that way they can sleep at night, and that's no different, you know, than saying that 9/11's an inside job. You know, they see it on TV, they say, well, yep, this looks like the official story is true, it can't be the government, it's going to be terrorists from way overseas, far away, and, you know, then they take that with them, and they live their lives. So that's one of the problems we have.
You nailed it when you said programming, because that's what they've been. There's, you know, the tactics have been years in the making of programming us to the point where we are now, to the point where people can, and let's just take it past conspiracies, where we can actually watch on television actual children dying, and in the name of democracy. And I mean, you know, people know that our government drops bombs on children. And we know this, and they know this, people know this, because they see that on the news. I mean, on the mainstream media will tell you that. And that's not conspiracies. And people are okay with that. They you know, we go on our normal lives. We go to work tomorrow, we have kids, we have, you know, to pay our bills. Oh, hello?
I'm still here.
Yeah? Almost sounded like Joe Pesci wanted to come through.
Yeah, I'm getting some kind of reverb. Chris, if that's you, we can't hear you.
Chris,
yeah, I agree with
that's
what you're
you.
saying.
You sound like Joe Pesci, Chris. Oh, I hear a laugh.
I'm working on it right now.
Oh.
Bear with me. I've almost got this taken care of.
I think I hear the host of the show.
It's like you just came in through the quantum door.
Absolutely. I feel like I've went and hijacked a radio show again. doing a call. I'm doing a call-in. Only I'm the only one calling.
Yep. Well, that's good.
Let's hope he gets things straightened out here. So, but back to my point though. Let's go past conspiracies. We are so complacent in our lives and in the American dream that it makes me want to vomit. Because, I mean, let's bring it back into our own country. I mean, we're not dropping bombs on our own people in our own country yet, but the growing police state's absolutely out of control. Women being shot with their children in Washington, D.C., unarmed. What happened to spike strips? I mean, I remember when you used to just lay out a spike pad. Now they just pull up their guns and shoot them. And this is all just becoming the norm. It's just, back to the programming, back to the mainstream media, the TV, the idea of we can watch a movie and walk away from it, or watch a news station or a news show and just walk away from it without asking any questions on anything. And just, they wore a badge, they were in a suit, they were fellas in a suit, so they were justified in shooting an unarmed woman or whatever the case may be, tasing a young girl, just beating people, whatever the case may be, back to just complete programming our society to think that this is okay, and Americans just sitting back saying it's okay. By not saying anything, by not doing anything, is condoning this.
I agree.
Well, hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Can you hear me all right now?
Yep.
Yeah, a little choppy, but
I am so sorry to everybody. You know what the problem was? It was Skype. It was definitely Skype.
It gets you every time.
Yeah, it was Skype, and I don't honestly like. What's weird is like my settings in Skype are all messed up. Andrew, remember how I told you I was having that third-party issue today? Was it today or yesterday? Everything on my computer was messed up. Remember how I told you my whole Blog Talk account was like all messed up? Someone got into my stuff. Like I definitely got messed with today, or overnight or whatever.
Someone tried to hack.
Yes, that is definitely what's going on, because someone got into my computer because everything is like all messed up.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's never good.
And I don't know. It's like I was trying to do the intro and everything, and I'm sitting there talking, and Mark's like, "What's going on?" And I could hear everything, but nobody could hear me. But anyway,
I could hear like every fourth word. I'd get like a grunt or like just a noise, and that was a little frustrating. I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Hello, but. It's good that we're going now. What time's Tim coming on, Chris?
Actually, he's going to be on very soon, and I have him on hold.
Can I just make a point?
What's that?
Can I just make a point real quick? I want, because I'm probably going to hang up because I'm not really feeling good, but I just wanted to make a quick point to extend what Mark was saying, and then I'll let you guys do the show. You were talking about the government bombing children and all that. People are now realizing, and a lot of people feel disconnected with the government. The federal government. Everyone can say that, with pretty good confidence that they feel disconnected from it and removed from it, and they should. And there's a good reason for that.
Right?
Because the federal government is a foreign government by definition.
Right.
And I'll let you, for people that don't know what I'm talking about, is when I've been getting into this is under the 14th Amendment and the Expatriation Act. Post-Civil War during Reconstruction, something funny happened that for some reason nobody ever caught on to. And what happened was they made American citizens have to become American citizens. So essentially what you had to do was denounce your allegiance to the old, organic Constitution, and then restate your citizenship under the federal government, under the new citizenship, the U.S. citizen status. So that's why you are disconnected, because the government that operates now is not the same governmental system or body politic that existed pre-Civil War.
Right.
And I think that's very important. I just wanted to make that point.
No, you're 100% right. Hopefully people will look that up, and we're connected because we have Social Security numbers, but disconnected as a whole. You're right, for a very good reason, because of what you just said. So hopefully people will look that up and do a little research for their own.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go, guys. I want to listen to the show tonight and try to lay down.
Yeah, hey, Andrew, thanks for filling in for like the last 15 minutes with the technical difficulties.
No problem.
Yes, Andrew. Hopefully you feel better.
All right, have a good show, guys.
Thanks, man. There.
All right. Chris, good to have you here, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. Hey, thanks for taking over the show for a little while.
Hey,
that was oh man, that was frustrating. That's never happened before. But
no, it's going good now. So
yeah, apparently I did get attacked on my computer today. That's great.
Oh, that's great. That's always good. You'll be days getting that straightened out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't mess with. I mean, I'm encrypted, the best I can. I mean, they can steal my folders, but they take all to get into them or anything. But I don't know what they did. They did something.
Unreal.
Messed up. I don't know, man. So anyway, everybody. Now that I'm back, we have our next guest, Emmy-Award winning TV producer and videographer and author, Tim Swartz. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about LBJ and JFK assassination. Tim, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you all this evening?
Now we're doing good. We just had some real major technical difficulties, but we got them straightened out, and we got them straightened out just in time for you.
Well, fantastic.
Perfect. I was just hoping I could get everything straightened out by 11 o'clock, and I did. So that's kind of good time, and I apologize to the viewers that had to bear with the technical difficulties. But so Tim, glad to have you on. Glad to finally get you on.
Well, thank you very much. Of course, now you know that now that I'm on, now the Men in Black will probably start screwing with the program. So we'll probably start, you'll have dropped calls and harassing phone calls, and your computer will get viruses.
Well, that's what's been happening. That's what happened to me today. Like I had some stuff going on with my computer today, and like a lot of stuff on my computer was all messed up today. I went through Blog Talk Radio, and my settings and everything were all messed up. My Skype settings were all messed up. I mean, everything was all out of whack, and I have no idea how that happened. I have no idea how this happened, but it was kind of embarrassing trying to start a show, and my co-host couldn't hear me.
Oh my gosh! Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed that the rest of the program will go unhindered tonight.
We hope so. So Tim, you want to go ahead and give everybody a rundown of who you are and introduction.
Oh yeah, sure. Gee, that's always it's always difficult when you're talking about yourself like that. But mostly now I'm a writer, though I got my experience as in television and behind the scenes, just over the years. I mean, I've been a reporter and a videographer and an editor and producer and just about a weekend weatherman at one station. So just
pretty much done it all.
Go ahead.
Pretty much you've done it, kind of done it all.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, it's you gotta experience it all when you're out there doing it. And I've always been interested in the world of the weird and strange, the paranormal and conspiracies and stuff like that. UFOs, ghosts, and the like. I'm sure probably anybody who is interested in stuff like that, can probably trace their interest back to back when they were kids. And that's the way it was with me. I mean, I enjoyed science fiction and stuff like that, and of course, then again, I also liked car races and being from Indiana, of course, basketball.
He's an Indiana fan.
That's right. Who's
I'm a Michigan fan, so.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's okay.
At least you didn't say Ohio State. That's good.
No. God forbid.
I'm okay with that. That's good. I guess we're good now.
Yeah. But I helped put myself through college writing magazine articles, especially dealing with UFOs, because back around that time, I mean, you still had magazines like Saga and Argosy, and they put out you had like Saga's UFO report and gosh, what was it? There's like official UFO, and then there was a lot of like one shot or two shot magazines that were always looking for articles, and God, believe it or not, they actually would pay you real money for articles. Unlike unlike periodicals now, of course, magazines. That there's it's really hard to find decent magazines that deal with these kinds of subjects. But back in the late '70s, you still had quite a few that would actually pay money enough to keep me in beer when I was going to school, which was that was absolutely essential when you're going to college. You had to have your beer money.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Chris, Tim, I'd like to step in. First of all, I'd like to say hello, Tim. I'm sitting here listening to you. I'd like to say hi. And Tim, where are you now, sir? Whereabouts do you reside, or what parts of the world are you at?
Well, still live in Indiana. I live in southern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Near in a town called Jasper. Originally, well, when I was in television, I moved around quite a bit and lived all over the world. But now I try to keep my roots down a little bit more. Now I'm older. Have a 7-year-old daughter, and it's not quite as easy to move around. And when you're in television and doing that kind of stuff, I mean, it's fun when you're younger, and you don't, you're not married or have anything. But once you get older, it gets a little.
It gets a little tougher. It gets a little tougher to get around and do
tiring,
Yeah, absolutely. When you got to come home and do with the kids and everything else in life too. So.
That's right. So yes, I mean, I live in southern Indiana, and just happy to do it. I mean, nowadays, if you have an internet connection, you can. You can do your writing and as much as you research as you possibly can. There's a lot of people now who rely almost entirely on the internet when they do their writing, and I still like to get out there, into the field and talk to people face to face, and if I can't talk to them face to face, I at least will try to talk to them on the phone, and well, I mean, I'm not going to go and say that I won't use other means. I mean, social media and email and Twitter and all the other things that are available now. I mean, you can't go and disparage them because they're just as useful, but you can't rely entirely.
It sounds like you're a little more old-fashioned like myself. I'd rather pick up the phone and have a conversation with you.
Oh, definitely. Well,
it's nice to hear the emotion or feel the emotion in stuff. I mean, writing is great, and reading is great, and everything we get on the internet is wonderful. I mean, the fact that we have it's just wonderful, but it is good to just get back to the basics of getting through to people, I think.
It really is. And, when it comes to research as well, I mean, not everything is available on the internet. I mean, a lot of times, especially if you are researching something that's been going on in an area for, an extended period of time, you got to go to the local library or whatever and, go through the microfilms, the newspapers or whatever. And because there's a lot of stuff that just isn't available any other way.
Sure.
And so I mean you can't rely on just solely on the internet. One of these days probably everything is going to be connected if we're lucky. I'll put it that way. If we're lucky, and you won't have to spend all of your beer money buying airplane tickets to to go to some little podunk town and go through the library's historical documents to try to find some little obscure piece of information.
Right.
But I tell you something though, it's almost like a treasure hunt when you're doing something like that. It's the thrill of the research and the thrill if you actually do dig something up that nobody else has discovered before.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When you run across that one bit of information, that hasn't seen the light of day in a long time, you're just like, yes, I mean that's a good feeling.
Yeah,
it is. It's a sense of accomplishment to have done your own work.
Yes, very much so.
Rather than rely on somebody else to have done that work for you, to actually, really dig in and, really sink your fingers in and do your own research and come to like I said, just not rely on anybody else to do the work for you, but just dig in and do your own work. It's gratifying.
It really is, and that's the thing that I want to say to anybody out there who is interested. I mean, and it doesn't have to be, with conspiracies or the paranormal or whatever. It can be anything that you're doing research on. Is get out there yourself and get your hands dirty. Do the work yourself. Don't depend on just sitting down and Googling something and getting your information that way. Because you can't depend on it. You have to verify.
Yeah,
what you're looking for over and over again. And I mean, face it, with the internet, and really, I mean, you go to the library and find the same thing, but you can find practically any point of view that you want to, on the internet about something. Because it makes it very difficult to vet a subject that way. So I mean, you really have to be discerning. on what you're looking for and whether or not you trust the sources. And a lot of times with the with the internet, it makes it very difficult to
yes, it does.
to do that. Of course, like I said, if you're a sloppy researcher, it could be the same way if you just go to the library and just take down a bunch of reference books and gather all your information that way as well. If you go in there with your own mindset, that yes, I'm going to find information that fits my point of view, then you're going to find it. So you have to, if you're a serious researcher, you've got to go in with an open mind and be prepared to uncover whatever information that there is, whether it conforms to your own mindset or not. You have to be willing to keep your mind open for whatever you find.
Absolutely.
I think that's key. I think that's key, is keeping an open mind to, not necessarily just absorbing everything that you see and hear and research, but keeping an open mind to the realities of different possibilities. Because when you keep yourself closed to let's talk about anything, conspiracies or paranormal or anything. When you become closed to anything, then you're not going to learn about it. You're not going to grow in any way. You're going to keep closed to realities that are happening in your world in your everyday.
It's true, but you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, on how many so-called researchers, investigators, or writers out there are, they're so fixated on their own personal beliefs that it reflects very clearly in their writing or when
a little bias.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
Just a little.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. If you'll read a lot, if you read books that deal, say, or articles that deal with UFOs, the author constantly refers to the objects as spaceships rather than UFOs or whatever, and that just always frosts my out. Always makes me mad. I got to be careful here. I'm on Blog Talk Radio. Yeah.
They might shut down.
Yeah. But see, that's a perfect example of, and it may not even be a conscious bias. When they refer to a UFO sighting as a spaceship sighting, or UFOs as spaceships. It's just like, well, now wait a minute here. That how do you know that? You don't know that. As far as I know, at points, and I could be wrong, but at least officially, nobody has ever come forward and said, and put it on television and said, yes, look, here is a UFO. It is a spaceship from another planet. Here are the dead alien bodies and everything like that. That hasn't happened yet.
And Tim, you know a little something about this. Am I right?
What, you mean personally?
Well, you've done a little research. You've done your own research, your own work on this.
Yes. But I don't. I don't know it, personally. It's
no, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you're saying that this was a fact. You're going on the record saying it's a fact that spaceships aren't real. I'm asking you though, but you've done your personal research on the subject, though.
Oh yes. For lots and lots and lots and lots of years.
Right, and that was the point I was trying to get to, is that You have a point to what you're saying. You know what you're talking about, if you will.
Right. You know, but you know that could extend to you know, like I was saying, that can extend to any kind of you know, investigation or research. You know, like the Kennedy assassination. I mean, you know, a lot of people, a lot of researchers, I mean, they always refer to it as the you know, the JFK conspiracy.
Yeah.
And while I mean, while I'm pretty certain that it probably, you know, there probably was a conspiracy involved, you have to be careful, you know, just flipping that phrase around all the time.
Certainly.
Because I mean, it is. I mean, you know, it's basically, you know, it ends up being a personal opinion rather than being, you know, being, you know, an actual verifiable fact.
Right.
Certainly.
Because we just don't know. We just don't know.
Well, certainly, but as Chris has pointed out to me before, there's a difference between conspiracy and a conspiracy theory. Because I mean, you know, we can say that, you know, there was some sort of conspiracy. Certainly. In what, you know, the research that I've done, the personal work that I've put into it, which I'll admit isn't as much work as I've put into a lot of other stuff, but you know, the personal research that I've done, I'm going to go out there and say there was some sort of conspiracy. Absolutely.
Oh
yeah, and I would absolutely agree with you.
The question is, you know, who was doing the conspiring?
Yeah, well, there's the $2 million question now, isn't it?
Honestly, I think it's probably more than a $2 million question at this point.
Well, you probably couldn't put a price tag on it.
Oh my God! Well, I mean, just put a price tag alone on all of the money that has been spent and produced or whatever on just the whole JFK conspiracy genre since he's been killed. I mean, you know, we're not talking about the actual event itself and, you know, what money may have slipped between hands of you know, alleged conspirators. Just think of the money that has been spent and produced producing the whole JFK conspiracy, what have you. I mean, that's a multi-million-dollar industry.
Look at all the films on the History Channel. Actually, they have one that's going to be on tomorrow night, like the what is it? Is it tomorrow night or something? They got something that's going on, like home movies of JFK and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm not surprised. You're going to make money on both ends. All spectrums are going to, you know, they spend money to produce the conspiracy, but then years and years later, there's still money being produced off from the conspiracy. Right? I mean, what
exactly.
a vicious circle, what a vicious cycle.
It really is, and of course, you know, I mean, being the 50th anniversary, I mean, you know, you have production houses with dollar signs, you know, in their eyes. It's just like, yes, you know, let's get out there, boy, and let's make our own JFK documentary, you know.
And that's where journalism has come to, is those dollar bill signs in their eyes. Let's get out there and make those dollar bills. Not let's get out there and find out what happened 50 years later.
Well, I mean, these aren't. We're not talking about credible journalistic productions.
Fair enough.
You know, these are fillers between commercials. That's what these productions are.
Mm-hmm.
They're there simply to have you in front of your television so you can see, so you can wait around for the commercials to come on. And that's what they're actually all about.
For more programming.
Well, for what have you,
Well,
the people sitting in twin bathtubs and
right. No, but it's unfortunate that like you said, these credible, these aren't credible, but these are the sources that people are going to, or not going to, is being, because there's a lot of people that go to the internet, go to the web for their information, but there's a lot of people that still just watch the History Channel.
Oh, sure. I'm not going to be somebody who says that, stupid fools, I don't do that. No, I watch these programs. Sure, I do.
I do too. Actually, the History Channel is probably one of my most watched channels.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, Tim. I started watching the Ancient Aliens for like the first season and kind of season, but I don't know if you, but they kind of like rerun it. I don't know.
Oh, sure. You kind of broke up a little bit there, so I'm not quite sure I got what you were saying.
Yeah, all right.
There you go. Oh, no, okay, you're back again. No, I got what you're saying about Ancient Aliens, and I can't. Unfortunately, at this point, I can't. You're absolutely right. I mean, and the title of the show says it all, Ancient Aliens. So I mean, you've got a show that whatever is their subject on that episode, then it's going to be speculation on whether or not ancient aliens or ancient astronauts were somehow involved with what happened, and I can't really go and say too much against it because I'm going to be in several upcoming episodes of Ancient Aliens. So I was interviewed. I was interviewed a couple of months ago for about 3 or 4 different programs on there. So
I need to apparently they're gonna spice up a little bit. So I watch that now.
But again, I mean, it's like I said before. I mean, these programs, a lot of them do they do a good job with their research. But face it, I mean, they're entertainment. That's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be, entertainment, and a lot of times they tend to be a little bit fast and loose with their information.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have to agree. Yep.
Yeah, and but then again, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I have written about over the years, one of the things that that I enjoy writing about and has really been one of the main points in my research and writing is personal stories of people, especially those who have had something happen to them or had an experience, and they really haven't been too forthcoming to talk about it. And you kind of have to take their word for it.
Yep.
And, so, I mean, I'll put their stories out there, and then I leave that up to the reader to decide whether or not, this person is telling the truth or whether or not they're, full of hot air.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the same can be said for a lot of these, these TV shows, these other productions as well, is that they'll bombard you with a lot of information, and then it's up to you, the viewer, to decide what's correct and what's not,
Sure.
And I've gotten, over the years, I've got a lot of criticism, for that. There's people say to me, "Oh, you don't really believe that, do you?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't believe or disbelieve anything. This is what this person told me." And so, I mean, I think that it's, I think it needs to be put out there, and then it's up to you to decide whether or not to believe it or not.
Exactly, and that's what we do with our website and everything. And yeah, and I get the same kind of criticism sometimes, but I mean. Like you said, it's up to the people that are viewing it to decide themselves. I mean, we can't do it for them. It's I mean, just like it's up to us to decide. So it's the same thing with them. No different than us.
Well, I try to be a little discerning. I mean, I can't just go and say that everything that everybody tells me that, I go and then put it in a book or put it out in an article, because I've had people tell me, like, "Oh, yes, well, space seductresses have come down with their spaceship and have, 5 voluptuous babes, in space bikinis." I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm definitely going to put that in a book.
I'm sure you've talked to some interesting people throughout the years.
Oh yes, that's a very polite way of putting it. Yes, you're right. But I've talked to a lot of interesting people.
I'm sure of it. Oh, that's funny.
And I tell you something. You would think that sometimes it would be easy telling the difference between somebody who maybe telling you the truth or maybe thinking that they're telling you the truth, because unlike what you unlike the stereotype that you'd see on television or whatever, the wide-eyed conspiracy fanaticist, who's got the tinfoil helmet and hiding in their parents' basement, fearing the knock at the door from the men in black. Sometimes the people with the most insane stories look like the guy next door. The suit and tie and goes to work every day and has a wife and 2.5 kids and a dog in the backyard. And
sometimes years later, these most insane stories, 40, 50 years later, turn out to be true.
Yeah, how about
sometimes
that?
it does happen. Well,
well, it's like that with like we're talking about tonight with the whole JFK assassination, because I mean you have a lot of people who were either eyewitnesses there in Dealey Plaza or had other kinds of connections, sometimes even just superficial connections, who shortly after Kennedy was killed found themselves dead under suspicious circumstances. Sometimes it didn't seem suspicious. It just seemed kind of unlikely that so many of these people would just die in a short period of time.
Right.
I was thinking about, I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a, guy from a car dealership who reported that a couple days before the assassination, that Lee Harvey Oswald came in and test drove a car, and that he remembered Oswald so clearly because he drove this test car like a maniac, and just scared the hell out of him. And then when he saw his picture in the paper, he was like, "Oh my God, that's that guy! That's the guy who came in here and test drove the car and just about killed us."
Right.
Well, I mean, within it was less than a year, I think, after he made the report to the FBI, that he was apparently, I'll put that in quotation marks, apparently he was killed in an attempted robbery, in an area where there hadn't been robberies of that sort in a long, in forever, But
right.
they, found him dead with a gunshot, wound in his chest.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people involved. Ended up the same way. Died in car accidents. Slipped and fell in the bathtub.
And I can't give.
Just the thing was the whole. I hate things there.
Chris, I think Tim can verify here. We're catching about every third word again, but.
Yeah, that's what. I can verify that.
yeah. I didn't think I was the only one. You're breaking up again on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd try to call back again. But as I was going to say, Tim, is I can't give a lot of information about the JFK shooting. It was before my time, and I haven't done my own work into the situation enough to really say much of anything. But I can say that things have happened in my lifetime. I'm 33 years old now. That the same pattern has happened. People have slipped in bathtubs. People have committed suicide. People have drug overdosed, gotten robbed in places that robberies don't happen. It's the same pattern that's happened since JFK and since what you're talking about. And so I can, I certainly relate to see who, if you really want to look at the big picture, who actually does have their thumb over it all. And I think it starts probably with the federal government and then goes on up from there in my own research that I've done.
Yeah, that's the big question though. Is the federal government is an easy target for that. But when you talk about the federal government, are you talking about our elected officials, or are you talking about the real government?
Right.
Yeah.
The government that is the people who are lifers, who aren't elected, who are really the movers and shakers.
Like Mr. Kissinger? Like Henry Kissinger?
I'll say the ones that control the money.
Right, exactly.
The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the Kissingers.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, well, and you're talking about the public ones. I mean,
the public one, yeah.
There are those who are behind the scenes that we have no idea who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they shun publicity. You don't read about them in the newspapers, but they're there. I mean, they have their fingers on the pulse of what's actually going on, and I mean, everybody naturally. I mean, they love to beat down our elected officials, and probably rightfully so. I mean, I think that for the most part, the real the real government deliberately makes sure that the most incredible idiots get elected.
Oh, absolutely.
We have proof of that.
I'm sorry?
So we have proof of that.
Oh, yeah, let's hear that. I want to hear that.
Let's look at George W. Bush. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry not to knock in Bush's intelligence, but Junior. But and that's on the large scale. That's the scale that people can understand. But I think you're 100% right. They're there for punching bags.
Right.
I mean, they can be complete dummies, but these people do have thick bones, or absolutely just complete dummies, because they are punching bags and they're set there for a reason, so we can beat them up, so people can be ugly at them and not the big picture, and not ugly and not upset about the people that really, as you say, have control of everything that's going on.
Right.
Distraction, just more distractions, more ways to keep us from really getting at the root of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that that this has become even more so after the Kennedy assassination.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Marrs, the author of Crossfire.
Yeah.
I mean, he just comes right out and says it, that the Kennedy assassination was a coup.
Right.
Yeah.
That this and that the United States has never been the same since that time. That the powers that be, whoever they are, they took over completely at that point. I mean,
I have a sense of belief in that. Like, you can see big shifts in the 30s, and where, like, as far as back as I've gone in our own history, a big shift in the 30s of control of who's taking over what, and then again, as you say, in the 60s with JFK, with Martin Luther King, with various people that were taken out or just gone and vanished, and just another big shift.
Well, and like when I was not on earlier, and you and Andrew are on. I honestly think the biggest shift of this whole United States was in the 1860s when Lincoln was in president, in the whole 14th Amendment thing that me and Andrew have been talking about for the past whatever,
Right. Right, when we become actually illegal citizens, we're not of our own. The government doesn't represent us anymore.
Yeah, that was a fascinating conversation, by the way.
It is, and people don't understand, really what, and that really goes down back to everything, back to what you said, Tim, is what the government really is. If
and
people,
that's why I brought it up, right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think if people really understood what they are and that they don't represent us in any way. Well, I say that I think people would be upset, but I don't know, because it all goes back to, the programming and everything we've all been saying forever, is that everything that just people are so complacent in their lives that I don't really know if they would. They say, because people do know, the government's a bad identity. It doesn't represent us. It's this and it's that. It's all these things, but, life goes on. And that's the mentality that people have. It's a mentality that makes us all scream.
Right. It's not affecting me right. It's not affecting me personally right now. So.
Right.
I'm just gonna let it slide until it personally affects me. It's like, why would you want to do that?
If people will actually say those words, exactly what you just said, Chris, it doesn't personally affect me. I'm sure you've heard that a lot, Tim, throughout the years. It doesn't affect me personally.
Right.
Well, it's for the point that it's personally affected me. I'm worried about everybody else. I mean,
our children.
We've
had this conversation.
Right.
Our kids, that's the major concern for me is our children, is the ones that are left here after us. If we all just keep this mentality that's been the norm for so long, this complacentness, then I mean we are, as we all know, heading down a very, very dangerous, scary path.
Well, it's absolutely true. I mean, and it's gone beyond complacency to just plain ignorance. It really is. I mean, there are so many people who just, I mean, they have no idea what's going on, and they don't care to know what's going on.
Nope.
You know, they don't. Well, I mean, not many people anymore do, unfortunately, but they don't read the newspapers. You know, they don't pay attention to what's going on outside of their own little bubble. I mean, they have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. And you know, those who maybe do pay attention to the news, they only pay attention to the news outlets that conform to their personal belief system.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
I mean, I challenge everybody to you know, if they're to not just watch, you know, local news or CNN or Fox or whatever, but you know, check out what the English language news coming out from other countries in the world. See what they're saying.
Oh, what a great point, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What a great point. Let's look at what other countries think of us, the greatest country of all, the greatest nation that's ever been. Look at what other news outlets in other countries say about, you know, this greatest nation. I think people may be surprised at what they hear and see of, you know, what other countries think of us and feel about us.
Yep. Oh, I mean, they would. They'd be in for a shock. They'd be in for a shock also on just what would be considered news.
Right.
Other places. You know, rather than just you know, what train wreck Lindsay Lohan is doing today, or
right.
whatever. You know?
no, correct. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. That's
and that's what's got us. You know, it's got us. A lot of us that's, you know, on this show and that last weekend that, you know, are really riled up about that is just, you know, the information that you get is you know, the mainstream media is controlled by 6 corporations. That's not, you know, this isn't conspiracies. And so you're force-fed you know, and then so you have 6 different corporations to try to tailor to whatever your belief system is, as you mentioned. So let's just say I'm right-winged. I watch Fox, and I believe everything that Fox says because, well, it's my station.
right.
It's you know, it's what it's what my parents watched, you know, so obviously that's what I watch, that's what I, you know, and that's what we're trying to do is get people just, you know, look at other sources. And not saying that you have to believe everything that you read online or in the libraries, but go to the library. And I'll be the first to admit the last time I stepped into a library, it's been a little while. Because all the access is on my computer now. No, I don't. You know, when you said that earlier, it clicked with me. You know, I need to go back to my library. I need to go look at some books and, you know, open some covers again instead of turning on the power button. And I think, you know, things like that are important that people just don't do. I mean, and you know, we turn on our power buttons as in the computers to get our information, me personally, but a lot of the percentage of people turn on their power buttons on their televisions from the box in the corner of the room, and they get all their information from that. And it is scary because when you look at other countries' news and what is news, it's not Lindsay Lohan and what train wreck she's involved in, or, you know, whatever the next thing is, or, you know, it's news. It's, you know, there's stuff going on. And a prime example is if you take Time magazine, and look at 4 or 5 other major countries that produce Time magazine in the cover of their page, and then look at ours on any given month, they can run the same exact cover, being a major story, whether it's Syria or whether it's some sort of revolution in a country that's going on, and then, as you said, it'll be Lindsay Lohan in the States. And if people don't look outside what Time magazine's putting out in their own country, then they're not going to know anything more.
Right.
Period.
Right. Well, and that's I tell you though, that's the one thing though that we can applaud the internet about, because yes, it is very easy to turn on that power button and just go and surf for pornography. But the internet has also made it available that you can get news and information from all across the world at the touch of a button, and that's just absolutely fantastic. For somebody who is just still fairly young and has the internet has been around their entire life, they don't understand really just how amazing that is. When I was a kid, I don't want to sound like old codger or anything like that, but when I was a kid, you didn't have the internet, and about the only way that you could get quick information about what's going on overseas is if you were a geeky kid like I was, you had shortwave radio. You could you pick up radio stations from Europe or the Soviet Union, or whatever. Now all you have to do is just turn your computer on, and you've got websites from all across the planet, and that's a fantastic thing.
It is,
and people really. They need to take advantage of that, and they need to, expand their minds.
Right. Can I step in and say they need to while they still can, while we still can get this information. We need to obtain it and get it out there.
Yes.
And I think it's a responsibility of everybody that can get information and get it out there to do so, because. And I'm not, I'm speculating, but there may be a time where we won't have this information because, we don't control these power buttons. So, the information that we have, we need to get it out there.
Yep, that's right. Well, people don't understand how easy it can be to bring the internet down. And we do take it for granted, you look at some of these countries, say like North Korea, who they exert very powerful control over the internet into their country. It's a very closed loop system in these places, and it'd be very easy. For the rest of the world to do that as well. Even here in the United States. Though, I tell you something though. I'm always kind of an optimist. When it comes to stuff like that. Once the genie is out of the bottle, it's really hard to put it back in, and the government may try, all kinds of different ways to shove it back into that bottle again. There's a lot of smart people out there who will come up with ways to get it back out again. A lot of heads may roll in those attempts, but I think that the internet is going to be with us hopefully for a long, long, long time. And those who try to suppress it are going to be surprised at all of the extremely smart and dedicated people out there who will make it possible to prevent any kind of real censorship.
Maybe that's what would cause enough people's uprising here in this country would be, if their power was shut off, if their internet was shut off. I'm sure if you shut people's TVs off, they'd be pretty upset. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, unfortunately, with the internet, about the only way I think that you could get an uprising going with censoring the internet is if you turned off their pornography. So.
Very good point. But it's kind of funny because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, but they do censor, because let's say a lot of people just get their information from social networking. Like a lot of people that don't watch news, that don't do anything else, they do get on Facebook.
Yes.
And as me and Chris know, because we do some social networking to try to get out there and let people know that, hey, there's a radio station going on, Citizens Awareness Vanguard's trying to get information out there to people. And Facebook will actually show you that they're censoring, you have 2,000 friends and 16 people see what you posted. And actually Facebook is actually open about censorship. This isn't, they're not trying to hide anything. They'll tell you, Zuckerberg will tell you that they censor stuff that they don't feel that they're either appropriate or will please the masses. I think it was the way that I read it officially from Facebook. But so they already are trying to put that genie back in that bottle. But, and we've talked about it on the show. I wanted to make this point. This is my whole point I want to make. We've talked about it on this show is I think that the Internet may be the destruction of, quote, them. It might be, the leak of information to everybody that causes the end of their empire, if you will, the end of, the change of times, because they won't be able to shut it down. I believe you there. I don't think that they'll be able to put that genie back in, because even if they tried, there's, like you said, the smart people out there that will get that back up, because you don't need government to do it. So, I mean, without, with them trying to shut it down, people will just bypass it and still get this information out there. So I think the Internet might be the one thing that they weren't banking on, hopefully. Because 100 years ago, 150 years ago, I don't think they were counting on it. So I'm hoping that that's the one thing that's going to put a crimp in their style, if you will, or, a wrench in their plans.
Yeah, I would hope so, but I mean, you have to remember that just as there are people out there who spend all their time just sitting in front of their television, watching Dancing with the Stars and not paying attention to what's really going on. I mean, you got the same people who spend all their time on Facebook, or other social media, not really paying attention to what's going on. I mean, about the extent of their knowledge is, chuckling at cute cat pictures.
Yeah, cute memes. Cute pictures. You're going to love the kitty pictures.
About the only way that you get them riled up. It's like, just, shut off the cat pictures. Like, hey, where's my lollicats?
No, and you're right, and that was kind of my point. Is that's the problem. This is, but it kind of, to me, like, I think I see like the big picture of this is where they want us. They have everybody exactly where they're in the perfect position. I mean, we're so blind, or in general, people in general are so blind to how much information is out there, and even so we consider it so easy to pick up our computer and just do some research and get news from other sources, but the masses, the majority of people don't. They don't do any of their own work. So they just take in everything, and it gets frustrating because you try to talk to these people about real subjects, not conspiracies, not, things that I have come out in the open 40 or 50 years later. Things that tie back, I think tie back into JFK and Martin Luther King, and if we go back to MK Ultra and mind control and Northwoods and things that they're public about now. They're like, yeah, we did this stuff. This stuff happened, and again, some people know and are just complacent.
Yeah, well, and like you said, they say, well, how does that affect me? That doesn't affect me.
Right.
Why should I care?
Why should I care?
That happened a long time ago.
Yep.
Right. Right. The government took care of that. They wouldn't. It's not on the news, so it can't be happening anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's the mentality of it, though. Is the government got better?
Right, and I don't know if you were listening to the whole show, because we had all these mess ups at the beginning. But me and Mark were in Boston last weekend, and there was this whole nationwide, worldwide event, the March Against Mainstream Media. I don't know if you heard about it. And that's what we did, and I got it's actually, well, I'll talk to you later about it, but I can send you like the video and stuff of what we did and everything. But anyway, we were in Boston. I mean, it was a nationwide event, but we were in Boston, and we were protesting. We started out at the State House in Boston, and we which is right by Fox. What was it, Mark? Fox 45 or something.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Fox 45, whatever it was, Fox News.
And that's what we did. Me and Mark came down from Maine. We went down to Boston, and we stood at the State House. We gathered a bunch of people. And, of course, Andrew, who was on here and covering for me when I had all my technical difficulties. And Andrew was actually the organizer of the Boston event and everything. But, anyway, that's what we did. And we marched down to, like, EC7, and we protested there. And that's what we're trying to do. Just trying to, let everyone know that, the media really isn't covering, like, not only are they covering the stories that they should, but even they're covering the stories, they're not really getting it right.
Right.
And, so that's what we did. We had this whole, like, event that we did, and it ended up being worldwide. And the only people that, the only news station that covered it was RT. And RT did, and Abby Martin covered it, and even Ben. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Abby Martin and Ben Swan. You must know who they are. So I mean, and they both covered it, and but nobody else covered it. I mean, we stood out in front of Fox and ABC, and they hid on us, and they actually ABC7 called the cops on us.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. they hid in that big building, and we stood out there and we protested, and then all of a sudden the cop coming down the alley trying to push us out. I mean that's what's going on. That's what's going on right now.
Well, the unfortunate thing though is that for most people, if you talk about something like that, the mindset is anymore that it's like we had talked about earlier, is I mean you're talking about everybody else except for my network or cable channel of choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the one that I watch, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, they're the right ones, and everybody else, they're the bad guys. Let's get rid of them. They don't understand. They don't understand the difference anymore.
No.
And and this is something. I mean, people don't understand. Also, I mean, this is something that has occurred rather rapidly. I mean, it used to be, every town, every city used to have, say, at least two, and oftentimes, more than that, local newspapers that each one would have their own, political bend. One, say like the morning newspaper would be, for the Democrats, and the evening paper would be like for the Republicans, and then you had, the smaller newspaper that, they really didn't care one way or the other, just buy ad space, and everybody was generally pretty happy. Maybe right. One of them would right. be unduly influenced by local politics because maybe one of them was owned by a political family. But now it's like you said earlier. I mean, all that is gone, and that's happened very rapidly. Now you have these big corporations that have gone and bought out everything. Everything. It's very, very rare anymore that you would have a local media outlet that is not owned by a company that exists someplace else. Has no local influence at all.
Right.
And in fact, there's six major owners of the mainstream name. I mean, you know that, so I don't gotta tell you that, but
not before the march here, I got talking to a local news writer for a local station, and he was trying to tell me that how wrong we were about doing this at local stations, the Boston stations and local news stations, because there's real people in there that are trying to put out real articles on real news, and so it was a real eye opener to the people that even work there that don't see that. So I tried to ask him, are you able to put out any type of article that you feel that is important to the public, or do you have somebody above you that is saying, oh, that's a little too grimy, or that's a little too touchy there, let's we can't do that. And of course he stopped, and well, of course I can't put out everything I want. Well, then there you go. That's then point. That's it. The case closed.
Yeah. Yep.
You have somebody above you that's there's whether it comes over a fax that says you're not putting that article out, and so people never see the light of day of an article that could be eye opening to somebody.
Right. Yep.
Because they won't see it on their favorite news station or outlet, whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is that for the most part, these reporters, I mean, they don't come up with the stories themselves. Not usually. Usually the stories are assigned to them by the assignment editor.
Right.
And then somebody is responsible for getting those stories to the assignment editor, so then he can give it out to whatever reporter is on the beat. I mean, if you have a reporter whose beat is the courthouse, or whatever. I mean, they're going to come in and they're going to say, oh well, this such and such was going on today. We need to cover it, and unless, like you said, unless somehow it is a story that, say, like an advertiser of that media outlet, for the most part, they'll be allowed to do it, but guarantee that the quickest way to get a story cut is that if it involves somebody who's a major advertiser or owner, or cousin of the owner,
or as we connections with, married to, cousins of.
Roberta.
Yeah. Well, I can remember. I mean, it's been a few years ago, but and I can't remember which network it was now. But it was one of the major networks, NBC, CBS, ABC.
Sure.
Their national news division was going to do, some kind of investigative report about big tobacco, and it just so happened that one of the big stockholders in that network was a big tobacco company, and maybe it was 60 Minutes, something like that, and boy, that story got sidelined real quick.
Yep.
And fortunately, somebody else not in that network, found out about it, and got that information out there, and at that time, that was big news. Oh my gosh! I mean, here is an outside influence, affecting news reporting.
Right.
Hell, that's commonplace nowadays.
That's normal.
It's
Right.
normal, very much so, very much so.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's normal to the point where you have networks that if there is a story that somehow does not fit their political agenda, it'll get cut. Doesn't matter if it's a real news story. It doesn't matter if it's something that is important that needs to be out there. If it doesn't, if it goes against their political ideology, then definitely it's going to get cut.
Oh, of course.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And they'll fill it with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
I thought about this earlier when I was listening to you, Tim. If you when the news is over for everybody, look at the fine print. It's somewhere in there. It'll tell you for entertainment purposes only. And I think you brought that up earlier. That is actually in the fine print. For entertainment purposes only.
For a lot of it is.
A lot of it is. It's not. They'll even say, hey, a lot of this isn't news. It's not accurate news.
Well, there's been a subtle shift that took place over the past 20 years, maybe even a little bit more than that, where the news divisions, not only on a national level but on a local level as well, have been shifted into the entertainment divisions of these countries, of these companies, and the news division has been basically, eviscerated, and it's now considered entertainment. It's now considered this, rather than being a public service, that we're doing this for the good of the public. It's now, we're doing this to make more money.
Right.
Exactly.
And
that's part of why we're doing this whole thing against the mainstream media. And I don't know who else is gonna step up and do something about it. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Honestly, that. I don't know who else is gonna step up and do something about all the crap that's going on and everything. But I mean, how do you fight? I mean, honestly, what is your opinion? How do you go against that? All the crap that they're spewing out every day through the MSM. What's your opinion on that? Like, what do you think we should do about it?
Well, you don't watch.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you
How simple.
Well, it's true, and don't forget. I mean, these places are they're rating driven. They're ratings driven.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they don't have an audience, then nobody is going to buy advertising time.
Exactly.
And eventually, their controllers are like, well, we're not making any money off of this. Let's just get rid of it, And see, and that's the value of alternative news sources. Is that especially the ones, and God knows, it's extremely difficult in this day and age to have something like that is not supported financially, at least big bucks, a big corporation financially, but it is possible currently still. That's you need these alternative news sources just so people can realize that yes, there is actual news, there is actual stuff going on out there that is not being properly reported by the so-called major news outlets. I mean, a lot of people are really surprised when they when they get access or pay attention to other sources of news. They're like, oh, God, I didn't know that was going on. I never heard about that before.
Right.
And, so
it is.
But,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it does, and it happens every day.
Yeah. But once again, I mean, it's very much an uphill climb to do that, because with a lot of this kind of stuff, just telling people, well, don't watch that.
Right.
I mean, that's like telling people not to have their that first cup of coffee in the morning.
Right.
Good luck with that.
Right.
Don't do that.
Well, it takes a certain amount of, I know Chris puts in unbelievable amounts of energy into what he does to get this information out to people. And I can see the frustration in him sometimes and hear it with him, because, he puts everything he has into this, and he doesn't make money off this. This isn't something that he's, financially backed by anybody. He spends financial reserve notes, if anything, Federal Reserve notes, if anything, to put this information out and to reach people, and that's where you get your difference from. And not saying that everything that Chris or I or anybody that's backing themselves is all the information they're putting out is correct, but at least it's challenging. At least it's challenging what the status quo of everybody else. And actually, in a lot of cases, actually really is putting out actual news that people can actually go and do their own research afterwards and find out, hey, those guys were right about Fukushima. That's really, really bad. Anything else that's not out there.
Right. Hey, we're gonna go to break, and we'll be back, and we'll indulge in the topic of the JFK assassination that we were gonna talk about. What was that?
That's good.
They live and they breathe, just to turn the old screw. They screw you when you're sleeping. They try to screw you blind. Some humans ain't human. Some people ain't kind. You might go to church sit down in a pew. Those humans who ain't human be sitting right next to you to talk about your family, to talk about your clothes, when they don't know their own ass from their own elbows. Jealousy and stupidity don't equal harmony. Jealousy and stupidity don't equal harmony. Ever noticed when you're feeling really good, there's always a picture that'll come shit on your hood, or you're feeling your freedom and the world's off your back. Some cowboy from Texas starts his own war in Iraq. Some humans ain't human. Some people ain't kind. They lie through their teeth, their head up there behind. You open up their hearts, and here's what you find. Some humans ain't human. Some people ain't kind.
So you heard that John Prine song, Mark. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I listened to half of it earlier. It's a good song.
it's really too bad that I ran through all my songs through the technical difficulties because I'm pretty much running out of music on my interface right now. Well, you know, all that matters is we have Tim Swartz on tonight, and that is probably the most important thing tonight. So,
I know it's the most important thing to me. It's great to have him on.
But we do got to get to the topic because we got about a little over half an hour left. So we do got to get on the JFK topic since it is past 12 and it is the 22nd. So.
Ooh, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, I wanted to apologize to you, Tim. Didn't mean to hijack the show to, talk about other subjects. So.
Oh no, that's fine.
As Chris can know, I can certainly ramble. So.
Right. And the thing is, when we have our guests on for the first time, we kind of want to talk about our stuff, and I probably should have thought, actually, if we didn't that whole hour for the first show that we didn't waste because something was going on here, everything would have went good, but everything got behind. But you know what? I actually learned some stuff from Tim tonight, and I'm very happy that talked about everything that we talked about tonight. So, but we do have a half hour left, and we can go past that. But we have 30 minutes live anyway, so we should probably hop on the JFK subject. So, I guess the first thing I'm gonna say is or ask Tim is not to get into everything into total detail, but I kind of want to hear your take on the whole thing, Tim.
Oh my God!
I know. I'm so sorry for asking that with 30 minutes left because that's definitely not enough time. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to have you back on again, but but if we could at least do something in this because I know we have a lot of listeners on tonight that were listening in for Tim and for JFK. So we gotta at least we gotta fit something in this last half hour so we can we can satisfy the listeners and everything. So I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot to ask from you, Tim, to ask you your whole view on it, but go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's one of those subjects. It's just oh my gosh, where to even start? Where do you even begin? Right now it's what is it, the 50th anniversary of his death, and I don't think that we're any closer really to finding out just exactly what happened. In fact, we may be even further away.
Right.
Because at this point, the waters have been so muddied about what actually happened, and probably deliberately so. No, of course. There's been a lot of really dedicated researchers and investigators who have put in a lot of hard work
no doubt
into trying to discover, and some really excellent information has come out. But there's also been some really wild information that has come out as well that has just really made everything so convoluted. It's very much like the way UFO research went in especially in the 1980s. When you started getting stories about Area 51 and the Dulce base and evil gray aliens with big eyes who would come down in the middle of the night and mutilate cattle and then abduct people and implant them with mind control devices and secret underground bases where they held people captive in vats of gooey liquid. You know, I mean, it just stories like that got to be so popular, and then it just filled people's minds with this bull crap basically, and it's very much. It's become that way with the Kennedy assassination as well. I mean, it's just like it's almost like at Dealey Plaza that day that there was maybe about 150 different shooters out there, all at the same time shooting at Kennedy. You got the mafia, you've got the Cubans, you've got the Russians, you have the CIA, you've got MJ Ultra. Who else? Vietnamese, the Chinese. Oh my God!
Oh sure.
Bush Senior shooting from the grassy knoll.
Yes.
Crazy Republican.
Well, and you've got the driver of the limousine who supposedly turned around and shot Kennedy.
Right.
There was there was people who actually reported that there's that overpass that you just right at the edge of Dealey Plaza as you were going out. There's the Bruta film. You see it as after Kennedy was shot and the limousine sped up. Then it went under that overpass. Well, there was actually people there in Dealey Plaza who said that there was gunshots coming from that overpass somewhere as well.
Right.
So not only do you have people who said there was gunshots coming from the Texas Book Depository and the grassy knoll, but you also had people saying that there was gunshots coming from that overpass, and then there was other people who reported there was gunshots coming from, and I can't remember the name of the building, but there was another building just right. It would have been to the left of.
The left, yep.
Yeah, the left of the Texas Book Depository, even further away. That there was gunshots coming from there as well.
Okay.
So I mean, I kind of joke about this, but I've often said there could be a very good possibility that there were a number of different people there at Dealey Plaza at the same time.
Sure.
Shooting at Kennedy, none of them realizing that the other ones were there.
Right. Or just the opposite, or actually realizing that everybody was there.
Yeah.
I mean, distraction points, or like you say, or just not even just. He was unpopular.
Well, it's almost like a cartoon that I saw not too long ago that said the reason the Titanic sank was because it was filled to overflowing with time travelers who came back to see why the Titanic sank. So I can imagine it. I can imagine a scenario where you have multiple time travelers coming back, all with guns, in an attempt to kill the assassin, whoever the assassin was of Kennedy, and accidentally all doing it, being the assassins themselves.
the one thing they didn't factor in was the weight of all the time travelers and all the experiments to get back in time. The one formula they missed.
Guys,
that's right.
On a serious note, to talk about like the Titanic and everything, like. We know there was a connection between the I mean, I do. I don't know about you, Tim, but there is definitely a connection between the Titanic sinking and the Federal Reserve. Did you agree with that, or?
Well, I have to admit that I haven't heard that one.
Really?
No. You'll have to enlighten me. Unless that would take up the rest of the half hour. And then
That's the thing. I mean, we have more time, and we're only live until like 1, but it still records after that, so the viewers will actually be able to hear everything like after. I put it on YouTube
Well,
and everything.
I would say, well, unfortunately, you know, I have to get up early in the morning, so 1 o'clock will be my cutoff time as well. So
once we get to 1 o'clock, I think we're all pretty much cut off and everything. That's why I would like to get you on again and talk about stuff. I mean, because like when we have our first guest on, we like to like introduce everyone, you know, get everyone used to the guest and everything. That's what we've been trying to do for like the past 3 months. We only have a couple of like repeat guests so far. But yeah, I mean, like the whole like the Titanic thing is like, when did the Federal Reserve start, Tim? I mean, you know this.
Yeah, I do know that, but I can't.
1913. So when did the Titanic sink? Who was on the Titanic? What was it? John Astor Martin. You know who that is.
Right. Yeah. So I'd say my Titanic lore is not as good as with other stuff. So you'll have to.
Right. Well, the people that were on the Titanic, like John Astor Martin, and
right.
I had all this planned out before like show started, but I lost everything before it got started, so I had everything on my screen and it's not here.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, like it is like what you had John Astor Martin at that point was like the richest guy in the world, and he was against the Federal Reserve, and all of a sudden in 1912 we had the ship that sunk, and they had all these prominent people on there that were against the Federal Reserve, and the only people that they needed to get out of the way were those people that were on the Titanic. So they all got them on the Titanic. They got sunk, and those people are gone. So they can't. And John Astor Martin is the most prominent guy, because at that point, as far as I know, I mean, I could be wrong, but the research that I've done is he was the most. I mean, at that point, he was the richest guy, you know, in the world at that point, and
sure.
all of the stuff. You know, I mean, like, think about that, though. I mean, that's a good plan. Put everybody on the ship, sing it, do that, get them out of the way, and 1913 rolls around. Federal Reserve is in action, and then everything's going now. I mean, like, they got rid of everybody that was in the way.
Right.
That's what happened. And I'm not speculating because I know this happened, because this is, like, one of the big things out of the whole thing that I've been, like, researching. So, I mean, like, I know this happened. Art knows this happened, and I'm very surprised that Tim didn't know this happened.
Fascinating. No, that's very interesting.
I'm with Tim. I didn't know anything about this. Chris, you just gave me 3 weeks of research now. Thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough going on.
And that's what the show's about. We're trying to, you know, get people thinking about other things and stuff. But yeah, I mean, 1912, 1930. Put that together. I mean, think about it. If you're that kind of person, you want to, like, just want to get rid of all that stuff. You want to, I mean, back then you could probably bury it at that time. It did. It got buried. And, like, that past whatever years, it's all coming about and everything. But as far as I'm concerned, the Titanic, the Federal Reserve, all that, yeah, there's a huge connection. And, and I honestly, I thought, Tim, you might have known about that, but
that's fascinating. No, it's like you said, boy, there's another 3 weeks that are going to be shot now as I'm looking up this one.
Yeah. I'll get completely distracted from everything else I'm doing, and now I need to know about the Titanic and the Federal Reserve.
and it kind of sounds kind of funny, but there is a connection, and
it actually doesn't sound funny, you know, because of, but yeah, I understand. Now I get a look.
And I've had personal conversations about this with like Joseph P. Farrell and Richard Hoagland, and Tim. I know you know who Richard Hoagland is.
Oh yes, and Joe, you know.
But yes, and, you know, I mean, like those are my honestly, between you, Tim, and Joseph and Richard Hoagland, like those are my three guys right there. Like you and those two guys are my three guys that I go to my information for, because, you know, I mean, I don't know, you guys, I just know from experience that, you know, you guys kind of know your shit. But no, Tim, I'm kind of surprised you didn't know about the Titanic thing. I really
yeah. Well, I tell you something, you know, there's just so much out there that haven't run across that one yet, but I know but you know, that's a fascinating scenario that definitely I definitely want to look into that one now.
I really hope that you do, because I mean, for the past 5 or 6 years, I've researched it, and there 100% is you know, I'm going on public right now to everybody listening right now. I know there is a connection between the Titanic and that. I know there is. So I mean, I'm glad that I brought that up to you. I really am. I kind of
yes.
I kind of feel kind of stressful right now. I do.
You see, though, that's a perfect example, though, going back to, you know, like what we were talking about with the Kennedy assassination, is that you know, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't come up with that scenario and involving the Kennedy assassination somehow. You know, that. Something, something that Kennedy's.
Am I mistaken that Kennedy actually was vocal about wanting to end the Federal Reserve?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, you're not mistaken. That was one of the.
I heard the intro to the show tonight, Mark.
I said it. I phrased it as a question. Okay, but you know what I was getting at, though. It's you know, it's very plausible. You know, I would say more than plausible for to sink a Titanic if you can. You know, if the theory can be that you can kill a president because of wanting to end the Federal Reserve. I mean, the Reserve has much power.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, it's you know, Kennedy. You know, he seemed to have pissed off a lot of people.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah. Of course, now, you know, every president has that ability, and you know, I mean, history showed. I mean, you know, I mean, you look at practically. Yeah, I mean, practically, you know, I would say practically all of them have had, you know, assassination attempts at one time or another. You know, the majority of them never got, you know, beyond, fortunately, beyond the planning stages. You know, others, unfortunately, got a lot closer to that. Kennedy, though, it seems like that, you know, it was just either a perfect storm, or it was just like, yes, this is the one that's going to have to go. You know, this you know, everything that that we've been working on. You know, here we've got this one guy here who's going to go and screw it up for everybody, and we're going to have to take him out. You know, of course, I mean, hindsight's 20/20. But I mean, history has shown the direction that the United States has gone.
Yes.
Since Kennedy was killed.
Correct.
And it was just I don't know. It's a lot of people have said to me, it's just absolutely impossible that a conspiracy as complex as a lot of the Kennedy assassination conspirators have talked about could ever take place. How in the world could all of this stuff had happened and nobody has found out about it?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to that is like, well, it wasn't planned like that. It just ended up being the luck of the draw, so to speak. I mean, and I definitely, I will come out and I will say it is that, I don't know, who was responsible for the Kennedy assassination, but I do not believe that Oswald was the sole perpetrator.
Right.
I do.
And
believe
you're right.
You're
right. You're right. You're right. And anybody that has any type of critical thinking skills knows that.
Right.
But I don't even know much of it, and I can tell you that. It's not like my big conspiracy, what? Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, and it's the same way with me at all. I mean, the Kennedy assassination, has always been an interest, to me, but it's not, it's not one that I have, made it my lifelong mission.
Sure.
To gather as much information as I can about it. I mean, because there's a lot of other people who've done much better jobs to it over the years.
Right.
But considering that it was a matter of hours that that they were saying that yes, Kennedy was killed by this man. I mean, and just a matter of a day or so when it was officially recognized that Oswald was the sole perpetrator of the assassination. That is always found just a little suspect to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and considering the confusion that took place at that time after he was killed, it just amazes me that Oswald was caught so quickly and determined right away somehow that he was the guy that killed Kennedy. Yeah.
Well, he was caught so quickly because they already had the story in place. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
You know how it works. They did. They have the story all set. It's no different than 9/11. You know how that went down. I'm sure that you know when it went down. Like they had the whole thing. Like I was reading something today, and I had this up before everything went down on my computer. But but yeah, there's kind of a similar connection between the Kennedy assassination and 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
There absolutely is. The entire time that 9/11, big kind of what's in the back of my mind is because that has been like, I wasn't around for JFK. I was for 9/11. I did see the planes. I did see them on TV. And I relate JFK or 9/11 to JFK from my, from my time span where I am, live. And you can see similarities. Just how quickly it was out there that Oswald was a shooter. Instantly done. How quickly Al Qaeda is the enemy. It's just there's so similar connections, and our first hour of the mainstream media, it goes right back to JFK and how quickly is out in the newspapers that Oswald's well okay, we can all go back to our lives. We got the shooter.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly. And for those out there, who say that it's just absolutely impossible that such a vast conspiracy, such a perfect vast conspiracy could take place. Well, I mean, it wasn't perfect. I mean,
right.
I think it was just. I think it was very much, almost like a, flying by the seat of their pants type of situation.
Yeah, right.
Look for example, the Italian rifle that Oswald, reportedly used to kill Kennedy.
Right. Yep.
I mean, it's been shown time and time again over the years that it would have been absolutely impossible for somebody who was not a good shot. Oswald was not a good shot. I mean, everyone always talks about, he was a marksman, in the Marines. Well, marksman is like the lowest of the low,
right?
In the Marines. I mean, my 7-year-old daughter could probably qualify as a marksman in the Marines.
That's what I said the other day. My 5-year-old son could probably qualify as what they qualify as a marksman.
Right.
This is true.
And considering it was a bolt action rifle.
Yeah.
For those of you, out there who have never shot a bolt-action rifle, let me tell you, to fire off allegedly 3 shots in that amount of time, 6 floors up, at a moving target. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening. I've tried to do that with a deer.
Right, correct.
Yeah. And with and with a gun who the sight was misaligned as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now either Oswald was the luckiest son of a bitch, with his shots.
Yeah.
And just happened to get that one perfect headshot from that distance with that crummy $12 mail order rifle.
I'm not trying to laugh, but you know what I mean. Like, come on.
It almost comes off humorous though, because it's like, just look at it, folks. I mean, like everything Tim just said, it almost does make you laugh because people are still just so okay with it.
Yes,
the official story.
Yes, an official story that came out as quickly as it did. That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you take a look at the Zabruta film. Of course, now that that film was quickly bought up by what was it, Time magazine, and was not shown for a number of years publicly.
Sure.
And in fact, supposedly by accident, several key frames were accidentally destroyed, in that film. But fortunately, that the killer shots, the one that blew Kennedy's heads off, the top of his head off. I mean, that remained in there. Of course, I mean, it wasn't until the 1975, 1976, I think, before the public really, I mean, they had seen frames from it, stills, but they had never actually seen the actual film itself. And you can't tell me that shot came from above and what would it would have been above and to his right.
Right.
I mean, that shot clearly came from the front.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I did a little bit of research on the video and such before the show because I knew he was coming on, and it's pretty much as simple as that. Just watch that video.
Well, and I saw fascinating series of pictures just the other day that where they had been, like digitally enhanced that seemed to show before the killing shot came,